Tonight I'm super excited for this webinar because anybody that knows me knows I love my Dynalite. I carry my Dynalite in my purse. I always have my Dynalite with me. I think everybody should own a Dynalite, and I just can't say enough good things. So I talked to Kerie, and Kerie has graciously agreed to do this. I've known Kerie actually several years now, and I've gotten to know him more from the trade show circuit and technical support crisis help when I was having issues. And he's been really awesome. He's super knowledgeable, and every time I talk to him, I learn something new about the DinoLite, and I still feel like I've only skimmed the surface on everything that you can do with the DinoLite. And I want you to know these pictures, like this one here that I used for the advertisement for this. Yes, I took this with my DinoLite. So you can take some pretty snazzy shots with it. So for those of you that don't know me, my name is Suzanne Wainwright, and I own Buglady Consulting. I've been in business 20 years as an independent consultant, and I've worked really hard to completely stay independent. So I do not, like DinoLite's not, throwing me any kind of kickbacks or any financial association with them. I do this, I really believe in this product, and they make my life a lot easier the more growers that have these. So what I do is I do work with commercial growers setting up pest management and IPM programs, and I teach a lot of workshops about biocontrol compatibility, and I'm also completely obsessed with insect photography. A lot of the pictures you do see in my other presentations, I do have a lot of other things I shoot images with. I do have 2 Canon DSLRs. I've got some digicams that I like and everything, but the DinoLite has really been a game changer for me. So why do I love them so much? So, okay, people, literally the photo on the left I got last week, and somebody wanted me to identify that as a pest problem. The photo on the right, someone took their phone and took a picture of a screen and then screenshotted it to send me the screen and wanted me to identify that. I am not a miracle worker. I need decent photos. And the better your photos are, the more I can help you, the more people, actually like Julie Gresh, who's on here from Bioworks, Emily Carmichael, who I'm volunteering up, she's up in Canada. She works for the Canadian government now up there. So, we people that help you, meet us halfway and get decent photos. So originally when I started traveling, I had to take with me a microscope in a Pelican case that would be my carry-on on the airplane. I was always nervous about it because it was an expensive piece of equipment. I'm rolling it around. What if all of a sudden they made me gate check it? Then I'd have to make sure I had a place to plug my microscope in. Now I don't have to fly with my microscope at all. I just take my DinoLite with me. It's in my backpack or my purse or close to my person. I can plug it right into my phone, my tablet, my computer. And what's great about these is it's a really easy setup for when I'm teaching workshops. I can plug this into my laptop, and the picture can be projected right up on the screen. So when you come to my biocontrol workshops, we can see the beneficials up on the screen and use this as a microscope to do that. And it's been, super helpful to have that. And it's really lighten my load when I travel, when I'm out there. So I want to just show you some pictures that I've taken, DinoLite pictures. You always don't have to be going for, that photo cover shot. A lot of times I'm looking for the story on what's going on. And, here we've got some aphids on the left. And yes, I know this aphid is a big old blur. It's out of focus. But what's interesting is if you look, this is a syrphid fly eggs, but a syrphid larva has hatched out and climbed over and started feeding on this aphid. And you generally, with your naked eyes, aren't going to be able to see this. And you can see this action happening right there. So that is like, okay, maybe, we don't need to come in and treat because there's syrphid flies there. On the right here, thank you, Emily Carmichael. She actually brought these to me. This is a hops aphid. And, to be able to get in there and see the tubercle structures is very important for ID. And, I've been doing a lot with thrips lately, and just being able to get good pictures of the thrips so we know how to manage them better. Other things you can see when you get in there with magnification, This, if you would just look at, you would think was a mealybug, but if you get in there and look with your DinoLite, you can see there's a circular exit hole in there. A parasitoid was in there and emerged and came out. And so this mealybug is dead right here. And so having that magnification to see that is a really helpful tool, because I actually will just take leaves and scan over them with a DinoLite and look for things like this. And I do this at my house. I just go collect leaves in the summer and look and see what's going on. You can take some more artsy shots. I actually shot this in my hotel room up in British Columbia. We found some maple aphids on the trees, and these brown lacewings were feeding. And I just thought it was kind of a little more artsy, pretty shot to take a picture there. So you don't always have to be just thinking, you know, for diagnostic purposes. So you can take some pretty ones there. And you can also, this is a tick on my dog. So you can do stuff like this. I mean, of course, we're going to get the tick off the dog, but I'm like, wait, we got to take a picture first of it, because it can be used as a part of an educational program there. I will say too, just putting this in there, Kerie, maybe you should add it to your marketing. DinoLites are great for removing splinters too, because you can get in there and see with the splinter. So that's it. I mean, these are, you know, all these reasons. I absolutely love DinoLites. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Kerie and let Kerie, I'm going to make him host really quick. And then he's going to talk about, he's going to go more into depth on DinoLites. So I'm super excited for that. So take it away, Kerie.
All right. Well, thank you, Susie. You've done most of my job for me already, as always. Up until COVID hit, we were doing, we do about 70 trade shows a year, and I was doing about half of those. And Suzanne, whenever we'd be at a show, and Suzanne would show up and she'd take over, and it would be just like she was another member of the team. So she's following suit here with this webinar. So with that, I'm just going to dive right into it. And first of all, just thank you for having me here. And it's great to see all of you here. And I look forward to hearing from some of you after this is done. Get you guys your own DinoLites that work perfectly for you guys. It's going to be fun. So anyway, I do this a little bit different. I hope, wrong button. I do this a little bit different. I'm not a Zoom professional, and I do things a little bit different, but hopefully you guys can see my screen now. If not, somebody, Susan, jump in there and let me know if not. But anyway, DinoLite. So what is a DinoLite?
DinoLites you need to make it full screen. You're not, I don't think you're screen sharing.
The other thing you can do is if you go up in the top of his picture and there's 3 little dots and click on that and make it pin, then you can make it the large picture on your screen.
There he is. Okay, can you guys all see him now? Big screen? He's big screen on my screen. Nope.
Yes.
Oh, because you pinned him. Just like.
Yeah,
I pinned
each
him.
viewer is going to have to change their settings. So if you don't see him, you have to go in your view and change it to speaker view.
There he is.
There we go.
There we
Nice.
go.
All right, so we're good.
We're good now.
Okay, you guys see the what is a DinoLite?
Yes, excellent. All right, thanks everybody. It's always a team effort on the webinars here. So.
We use Google Meet, and so I hardly ever use Zoom. So so this is all new for me. But anyway, what is a DinoLite? DinoLite is the most advanced handheld digital microscope currently on the market. They are an inexpensive alternative to high-end microscopes like Keyence and Leica and all of those, but they're still low-tech enough for the average person to wrap their head around. They're compact, they're customizable, and they're extremely versatile. So DinoLite versus traditional microscopes. Traditional microscope, they're usually large and bulky, so you have to have special cases to carry them around, like Suzanne was saying. They require dedicated space once you get them to where they need to go. They could be hard to use. They require different lenses for each magnification, and they require prepared samples. Normally, it's a lot hard. It's really hard to just stick a plant directly underneath the microscope. You normally have to do some sort of preparation to get a good image on a standard microscope. And usually there's no built-in camera. So if you want to capture images, you're going to have to get some sort of external camera, and that goes into a trinocular port or into the eyepiece. We do sell those as well if anybody is interested in that solution. And they're normally expensive. DynoLite microscopes are lightweight and compact. They're easy to use. They have variable magnification, so you don't have to swap lenses constantly. They can be used handheld or on a stand. They can be used directly on the sample, so you don't have to prepare samples ahead of time. And there's no extra camera required. And on top of that, they're very affordable. So what about the cheap knockoffs? That's a big question that everyone asks. I can see things like this on similar products on Amazon for $20. These products, they use low quality sensors. They usually have plastic lenses. Out of all the ones that we've tested here in the office, they all have plastic lenses, which degrades image quality. They have bad overall build quality, so things like the focal dial you'll have a lot of give in it, and when you're working with high magnification in high magnification scenarios, a little bit of wiggle can mean that you're not going to get the best focus possible. They have extremely limited or non-existent support. They have very buggy software. And on top of that, if you're someone who cares, they are infringing on our patent. We are the original designers of this type of microscope, and we do have a patent on it. DynoLite Microscopes, in comparison, we are, again, the original manufacturer. We've been doing this for over 15 years. We use high quality image sensors on all of our scopes. We use glass lenses on all of our microscopes. Even the very, very basic cheap ones at least have a glass lens. They have a better overall build quality. We have advanced features on our microscopes that some of our features that we have, the only comparable solutions on the market can cost $10,000 or more to get some of the features that we can provide on our microscopes. You get free, powerful software that's updated very frequently. This software will let you take photos and videos. You have a full suite of measurement tools and a lot more. You can do things like generate grid lines and crosshairs. You can control the camera settings directly in there. You can manage your photos and add annotations, which I'll show you guys after this is done. You get free software updates for life. We update this software about every other month, so we're constantly up to date with the latest Windows updates that come out. We do have a Mac version as well, and we are getting ready to launch a Linux version for the 1% out there that uses Linux. And the software can be installed on as many computers as you like. So if you're in a factory setting, you can install the software on 100 different computers and just buy a dozen microscopes that everyone can just run around and plug into whatever computer they're using. You don't have to get a license for each computer. On top of that, you also get free tech support for life. It's local tech support. When you call up, you might get me one day. I answer the phones very frequently, and so we're there Monday through Friday, 9 to 5 to help you. And you have a 2-year warranty on all of the microscopes. So I mentioned before that we have some special features, and I'm just going to go over a couple of those right now that you may want to consider when you're looking at a microscope. These are the things that you normally you definitely aren't going to get on a $50 knockoff that you got from Amazon. And a lot of these features you can't get on solutions that are thousands and thousands of dollars. So the first one is AMR. If you are going to be doing studies where you need to be able to take measurements, this AMR feature will automatically, it lets the software know what magnification you're using. So instead of having to, you can do measurements on most of our models without this feature, but you will have to calibrate every single time you change the magnification using a calibration slide that's included with the microscope. This takes that step out of the mix. The software knows what magnification you're using, it inputs that in and applies the correct calibration scale if you're doing measurements. So if you're going to be taking a lot of measurements, I recommend this feature. It also makes it easier to work at a specific magnification. If you need to work at exactly 20 times, this will let you see on the screen what magnification you're at instead of having to constantly check the tick marks there. You can kind of see that on the image to the right below my thumb. There's little tick marks. Those represent magnification, but they can be a little bit hard to read sometimes if you're trying to work at a specific magnification. And yeah, makes it easier to take measurements. Extended depth of field. This is a focus stacking solution. We didn't invent focus stacking, but we definitely made it easier. This feature in particular, the only other solution, the next cheapest solution on the market that does focus stacking the way that we do, is a $10,000 solution by Leica. And people say that our results that we get is better than that solution. It's one click, and what you'll do is you focus on either the top or bottom of your subject, click one button, and it will take multiple images at different focal planes, stitch them all together, and give you a composite image where everything is in focus at once. This makes it easy to deal with depth of field issues. If you're trying to take images of cannabis and get an entire nugget in focus, that's one use. Instead of just having one single trichome in focus at a high magnification, you can get all of them in focus at once using an image stack. It takes about 10 seconds to complete, and it works from either the top down or the bottom up. The next special feature is flexible LED control. What this does is it allows you to digitally adjust the LED brightness. You can also turn on and off individual quadrants of the LEDs. Instead of models that don't have this, you can just turn the lights on or off. But this takes it a step further and lets you turn off individual quadrants. This allows you to cast angled light, which can produce shadows just for a cosmetic effect, give you a better looking image, or to help reveal depth on the surface that you're looking at. So that's so help reveal hidden details. We also have mobile solutions. So you can connect most of our models directly to an Android device using an OTG cable and an app. Android, it's hard to figure out exactly which models this works with, but we can help you if you. We have a list of devices that we've tested and that we know that it works with on our website. Just be prepared to, if you're going to buy it specifically for that feature, just try it. Make sure that you buy it from a place that supports returning it if it's not working for you. We also have wireless solutions that can work with iOS or Android. So if you want to be using it with a mobile device, that's definitely something to consider. And the apps are all available for free on iOS and Android. We also have models with special lighting. This is coaxial, UV, IR. We also have full fluorescence microscopes available in all different wavelengths. So if you're doing some more advanced studies, this is really helpful. You can get a fluorescence microscope for $800. All of our scopes, the most expensive scope we have is $1,500. Everything is down from that point. So it's really good if you need a budget fluorescence microscope solution. So how do you choose a DinoLite? There's there's a lot of things to consider depending on the industry that you're in, but for looking at plants and insects, you can kind of narrow it down a lot further. And the questions that you need to ask yourself for this industry is, what is your budget? Will these images be printed? Do you require any of the special features that I mentioned before? And do you need to connect it to a phone or tablet? Once you've answered these questions, you can talk to us. You can give us a call on the phone, let us know these answers, and we could really just narrow it down to just 1 or 2 models for you. If you want to leave today with some recommended models, here's 4 different models that would be good for this industry. The low-cost solution that I would recommend, we do have models that are lower than this if this is still too expensive for you, but I really recommend that if you can spend the extra couple $100 to start at this level. This is the AM4111T, and it is $329. It has HD resolution. It has a touch sensor for taking images without needing to use your mouse or keyboard. This model does not support taking measurements, so keep that in mind. It is purely for visual inspection. You can still get the same software, but the measurement features are locked out. And this does not support removable caps for adding diffusers and other standoffs like some of our other models can. It's a great microscope though. A lot of people use this microscope, and if all you're trying to do is take images and send them to Susan, this is the model for you. If you have a little bit more to spend, the AF4115ZT is $629. This is the start of our professional line. It has just enhanced build quality. It's still HD resolution, but it uses our newer image sensor that gives you better color, better overall image quality. None of these are bad image quality, but this one does step it up another notch. It still has the touch sensor. This one does support taking measurements, and it supports removable end caps. And it comes with a set of diffusers and standoffs that you can just snap on to the end of the microscope. One thing that I didn't put in the bullet point there is this model also includes a variable polarizer, which can be helpful for dealing with glare as well. This also would be the model that I would recommend to you if you need to wirelessly connect it to a phone. The previous model can be wired to an Android device, but this is the model that I would recommend to you if you wanted some more professional model, and you would possibly want to use the wireless adapter in the future. So this is $629. The wireless adapter, if you wanted to add that, is just under $300 on top of that price. Now, if you have a little bit more money, this is another good option. I'd call this my medium high cost model. It is the AM4517MZT, and it's $949. This is the start of what we just launched this last year called our Edge Plus models. These are HD resolution. They're in a metal housing. They have a much faster frame rate. This is an even newer image sensor design. it's actually a sensor that's similar to this webcam that I'm using. A lot of people are using these Logitech webcams with a really nice high frame rate HD sensor. It's not that exact sensor, but it's very similar. It's very good color representation and high frame rate while still saying USB 2.0. It has the touch sensor, and this one also includes the AMR functionality for automatically putting in the magnification into the software and making measurements easier. And it also supports the removable end caps. Now, if you're just like, money is no object, I just want the best, and I want the everything in the kitchen sink model. That is this guy right here, the AM73915MZT. It is listed at $1,369. This has all of the major bells and whistles. This is a 5 megapixel resolution. so it's close to a 2K resolution. This is probably at the time of this presentation our most advanced microscope. Has the updated sensor. It has a USB 3.0 connection, so it gives you the fastest frame rate possible while still maintaining that full 5 megapixel resolution. And it has the EDOF focus stacking, the AMR, the polarizer, FLC, lighting control. All of those things are included with this model. So this is the everything in the kitchen sink model. So after you've decided on your model, we do have over 100 different accessories to choose from. There's all kinds of things like stands that you can clamp to a table, heavy base stands. We have comparison stands for forensics work. We have all kinds of things to choose from. But these are a few things that you might want to consider. For a basic stand just to carry out in the field, the MS08B is a nice little stand. It's around $30. A really great versatile stand, probably the #1 stand I would recommend to you guys for just an all-around great stand that is still very portable, would be the RK-06A. This stand is $189. It can be fully broken down. You can easily put this in a suitcase if you needed to. And you can see there it comes with 2 different arms. The additional arm that's included tilts on the end, so you can pretty much put the microscope in any angle that you want. And you can spin the whole thing, the whole assembly around. So it's just really, really versatile. Another good option to consider would be the RK-10A. This one has more precise fine adjustment and a quick release a knob on it. This would be the go-to stand if I'm just going to have it on a desk and the desk is going to be its home. This is the best stand that available, and it is $269. In addition to that, we have other things like backlights and XY tables. We have polarized backlights, so you can do cross polarization. And we have Petri dish holders, all kinds of things. And if there's something that you're thinking in your head, man, that's really cool, I wish that they had this though, give us a call. We might have that already. So we're constantly making accessories for these things. I like to tell people that DinoLite is the GoPro of the microscope world. You choose the microscope that works for you, and then if you need a dog mount, chances are we probably have a mount that you can mount it on a dog. So, so that's that. So that's the end of the presentation. If you are seeing some of these scopes and thinking, well, that scope's cool, I wish you had that scope plus this feature. We do. We have a lot of different configurations. The 4 scopes that I gave you are top sellers that I'd recommend for this industry. But if you look at those and you wanted to add one feature or take away one of the features to get it a little bit cheaper, but still have that same image quality, we probably do have that. So if you would like us to help you decide exactly what model would work for you, please just send us an email at sales@dinolite.us. I'll also, as soon as I turn this back over to Suzanne, I will put links to those 4 models that I mentioned in chat for you guys to bookmark and check the specs on those. So now let's go ahead and take a look at the actual DinoLite. So this is our software that we include with all of our microscopes. This is Dino Capture. Lets you take pictures, video. You can do measurements on the screen.
I don't think we're seeing it yet.
Oh.
I think we're still on. I think you might have to change your screen share because we're still on your PowerPoint.
Okay. There we go. Is that?
Yay!
There we go. Okay, so this is Dino Capture. So you can take a picture, take video. You can do point-to-point measurements, measure circles, angles, generate grid lines, do freehand drawings, do arrows, change the font, do all that stuff that you'd expect. The DinoLite itself, you can see my webcam here. This is how big a DinoLite is, if you've never seen one before. The way that this works, I'm just going to go ahead and put it on my jacket here, is you just put it in contact with the surface, and I'm just turning the little dial here on the side here. When that cap is in contact with the surface, you can focus twice at that same working distance. So here I am at 50 times. If I keep turning the dial, it's going to go out of focus, and then it's going to come back into focus again at 200 times. So all of the models that I recommended to you in the presentation, they all have this magnification range. If you are in a situation where you need higher magnification, we do have models available for that as well. But this is the magnification that you can expect on any of those models that I mentioned before. So a couple little tips if you are veteran DinoLite users. A lot of times people get these scopes and they just throw something under there. Let me default this back to how things are over out of the box. Okay, it's already default. You know, they'll just throw something under there. A couple things here. And they'll be like, okay, well that's good, but you know, it doesn't really look that special. You kind of have to treat the DinoLite like a SLR camera. You can spend $2,000 on an SLR camera, and if you keep it in auto mode, you're never going to have the full potential of that camera. It's going to basically be a $2,000 point and shoot that you could have easily gotten the same results with for $100. So if you looking at this image here, there's a couple things that I could do here. One is I can mess around with a polarizer to try to get different results. The lighting. Polarizing the light, you can see there it takes away the sheen of the leaf. And let's say I like that. I like the sheen, but now my colors are a little muted there. You do have full control over over the exposure. And what I like to do is just turn off the auto exposure. I'll just adjust my shutter speed down. So you can immediately see there, just one notch on the exposure. Just makes it nicer. It's a little bit darker, a little bit more moody. I'm going to come back in here and I'm going to adjust my gamma. What I like to do is take my gamma and throw that all the way down to the bottom. I will turn up my saturation a bit to 40, or maybe play with the contrast a bit. Brought that up a little too high, but you can definitely see there this image here versus just the default. Now, in addition to that, there is a white balance setting, and it really helps if you set that. It doesn't look to be off too bad right now, but to set the white balance, what you'll want to do is just put a white piece of paper underneath, come over here to this WB, and change this to where it says set underneath. Once that's there, you'll click the set button. That's going to set the white balance. It seems like it really didn't change it. I think it was already pretty okay. But if you're having a yellow tint or just not getting good colors, that's a good place to start. I guess you can see kind of a difference there with the white balance set versus not. It's much better. Another thing is the EDOF. I'll go ahead and show. Oh, it looks like we have a little visitor. What is this?
Yeah,
Susan?
you got me really excited all of a sudden.
Yeah. Yeah, what do we have here?
You got to focus it.
Yeah.
And obviously you're in a warmer climate because I'm under 2.5 feet of snow. We got no flowers here. What was moving? Because I thought I saw a mite in there before.
Yeah, I thought I saw that too.
Where did it go? Huh. Yeah, and see, this is what I like. You just pick stuff from outside and you throw it under this thing, and you find new stuff all the time that you don't even know you have in your yard.
Yeah. There really was it. It might have not been a mite. It might have just been it drying out and moving. I thought it was a mite though too.
I thought I saw a mite in there, which wouldn't be surprising to see it in there, maybe getting some pollen or something.
Yeah, I was hoping there'd be something. I just got these right before we started.
Well, my kitchen's full of aphids right now, and I could have helped you out with that. So, all right, I will let you continue on.
Yeah, and if there's anything, any questions you can think of too that you'd like me to address while I'm here too.
Are you going to talk about how you can put the information about the photo with the text stuff so it's with the photo?
Yeah, that was going to be the next thing I was going to get onto after I showed just how you can adjust the image. One last thing. Oh, go ahead.
I have a quick question. Hi, thank you for sharing this. I'm actually oh, nice.
Yeah, we see it now. Okay.
What was the question?
So I actually had a DinoLite model, so I'm a veteran, I guess. Okay. And so one of the issue I think I normally have with the DinoLite is that sometimes, just like the image that you are showing us right now here, it looks like it's focused at this the front of this flower, right? So. But however, sometimes I want to have the entire because it's focused at one point, so it's not zoomed into the rest of the thing. So is there any solution for this kind of like I want to show the entire flowers?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that. That goes right into the next point that I was going to make, the next thing I was going to show. One thing, if you already have a DinoLite and you need to get better, what that term is, if you're not familiar with it, is depth of field.
Yeah,
that is where the front is in focus here and the back is out of focus. That's something that you're going to get with any microscope, no matter how expensive it is. Depth of field is always going to be there. It's the higher magnification you get, the lower the depth of field. So there's a couple ways to address that. One, if you already have a model and you can't afford to get anything too fancy, just raising it up, the lower magnification you can get by with, the better depth of field you're going to have. So you can see here, just by raising up the microscope and refocusing, I can almost get that whole flower in focus. Now, if I had a model like this one here, it's fancy and has EDOF, what I can do is I'll focus on the top part, get the topmost leaf in focus. My computer is very sluggish too, so I'm not sure how well this will do. I have a very old computer. So I'm going to get that in focus the best I can. I'm going to come over here to this EDOF icon, and I'm going to use my scroll wheel, get it so that it gets the bottom in focus. So you can see there, this is showing the range that it's going to go. It starts at the top, and it's going to take images all the way down to the bottom and try to get that leaf. I don't think it's quite going to make it to that leaf. We could do it if I spent more time and did a manual EDOF. But let's just go ahead and take this picture and see how it looks. This is probably going to take about 20 seconds to process, since I did it in the highest resolution.
And while it's focusing, I will say that having macro pictures fully in focus is like the holy grail of macro photographers. We spend time and time and time discussing this, and I've looked at, because this is a problem on my fancy pants cameras too. And as Kerie said, you can spend all this money and then you have to go buy a rail with a motorized system to take these photos and then get the software to do this photo stacking process, which that's why when DinoLite came out with a basically, here, click the button and it photo stacks for you, where doing it with a DSLR and all the, it takes so much to learn and it's so expensive to buy the equipment. This was like, I can't believe they figured out how to do this for this cheap. So I'm just saying that. I mean, it's a game changer as far as photo stacking goes, as far as I'm concerned, to get a better depth of field on these images.
Yeah, definitely is. Now, for those of you out there that cannot afford a model with this feature, even though it is cheaper than a $10,000 solution, the models that have this feature start at around $1,000. So it's not something that it's something that's still out of the realm of possibility for a lot of people. If that is where you fall, you can still use a DinoLite and do manual photo stacking. It's just going to be much more time consuming. There are just Google how to do focus stacking in Photoshop. There's tons of YouTube tutorials. It's just not going to be one click and you're done. So if you can get this this feature, though, it is a really nice feature. You can see here, this wasn't the best EDOF picture I've ever taken. It was a quick automatic one, but you can see here, this is where I started, and that's what I ended up with. I get a lot more of the flower in focus with the automatic EDOF. You can do manual EDOF too. So if I go one more step up, I'm not going to do the whole thing, but I can come here, capture an increment, move down, and do it manually, and I can get up to 30 layers, up to 64 actually, if I make a change to a settings file. But I can really dial this down and get a really nice stack going, and then click start processing in it, and I can get it perfect if I put a little bit more time into it, and it's still a lot quicker than doing it in Photoshop. So that is a really good feature if you're trying to do macro photography and trying to get best results, especially with cannabis. It's a lifesaver.
So there's a question real quick. Sorry.
Please.
It's in the chat box. Can you focus precisely with the software rather than having to touch the DinoLite itself?
Good question. That with models that have this EDOF, you can. We call that focus. Called focus shift. That's what it's called. So how you do that is, if you have a model that has this EDOF feature, you can just middle click on an area, and it will do its best to focus to that point that you clicked. And once you're in that mode, I can use just the scroll wheel on my mouse and change the focus. So I'm controlling the focus here with the mouse. So again, that is all. You can only do that on models that have the EDOF feature. That is a hardware change.
Real quick, let me just add one more thing in on, if you're interested in the photo stacking and you're trying to do it on a budget, if you kind of Google, there's a guy named Thomas Shahan, who is the MacGyver of macro photography. He does a lot of jumping spider images, but he has some stuff out there that does a little more, it will help you get your photos stacked. He literally, he manually holds the camera in his hands and moves his hand to take all the photos and then puts them in the stacking software, which, like, he's the only person I know that does that, because usually your hands move too much at that level to be able to have your pictures to be able to stack. But he has some good tips on MacGyvering for photo stacking once you get your images taken.
Yeah. There's some really good resources out there if you're willing to spend if you don't have the money and you can spend the time, or if you're just the type of person who likes to spend the time instead of spending the money, there's definitely ways to do it. Yeah, here at DinoLite, we're not trying to. We'd much rather sell you a cheaper microscope that you're going to be happy with than to just sell you our most expensive model that you're not going to be happy with. If we're trying to sell you our most expensive model, I tell everyone to get our 900 times magnification model. But if you guys in practice got that, it wouldn't work with this. It'd be very difficult to use handheld. You wouldn't have as much versatility with the magnification. So we really want you to get something that you're happy with. Please give us a call, and we're happy to just spend time and just dial in exactly what you need. Okay, so next up, what Suzanne was talking about was annotating the images. So there's a couple different ways that you can do that. One if you need it to, send to her, I can say, hey, look, it's a bug. I'll throw in a couple exclamation points for good measure. And then I can come over here with this arrow thing and drag that there. I can change the thickness of the arrow here. One. And then I can change the font and the color just by right-clicking or clicking font up there. Kind of basic stuff. You can move those around wherever you want. Now there's another annotation too that is not movable. And that is this annotation bar down here. Now what's cool about this is if I type in bug1 here, I'm going to take a picture. Now let's say I saw another bug and I'm going to type in bug2. And I'm going to type in bug3. Take another picture. Now months down the line, if after I have hundreds and hundreds of pictures here, if I'm trying to find those exact ones, I fill up my camera roll here with a bunch of pictures, and then later on I need to find those. I can come up here and I can type in bug, and then if I filter by that, this is every single picture that has that bug in that annotation there. Then I can type in bug1 and pull up that exact image. So this is, it's not searching. Okay, that's not working like it's supposed to. But anyway, all of the annotations that you type in this bar here are searchable. So that's a couple ways that you can annotate the images. So was there anything else specifically that you'd like me to show, Susan?
No, but I think what's important about that is, especially when it comes to macro photography, you think you're going to remember what you took that on. I mean, it's one thing if you're taking a landscape shot, you can see where you were, but when it's close up, you're like, is that a petunia or is that something else? And you forget. And when it comes to pest management, knowing the host plant, and since we're trying to work on a lot of cultivars of plants and figure out which susceptible to which pest, we need to know what they're on. And so making those notes as you take these photos so you have them with the images, I think is really critical, because if you take 100 pictures of cannabis up close, you're not going to be able to tell the cultivars apart.
And you can take as many notes as you want. These aren't you don't have to worry about it making your picture ugly too. I can come here after the fact too. On this picture that I've already taken, I can add in a couple of measurements, a couple more freehand drawings, some shapes. I don't have to worry about it making my picture ugly. I can have text all over this thing. And then when I want to export it out, I can choose what I want to imprint on the image. I can imprint the header, that's this information up here that's auto-generated. The drawings and text and measurements, or the annotation box down here. So you have those options when you're exporting it out, so you're not stuck with that stuff on your image. And with that, I think that's pretty much it. Is there any other questions before I give this back to Susan?
I have a question. What are the best means for cleaning the area around the lens? I was using it for a lot of sticky things like sticky trichomes and then sticky cars, and it gets kind of goopy. And so what would you recommend for cleaning?
Gotcha. We typically don't recommend any sort of solvent on it. The best thing is just, the universal solvent. Use water and a slightly damp rag and just cleaning it. If you absolutely have to, I'd use a little bit of alcohol or a 50-50 alcohol mix to help break up that stickiness. Now, to prevent that from happening in the future, if you're using an edge model, We do have a closed cap that can help prevent that from happening in the first place. But if it's not an edge model that has removable caps, we don't have a solution for that.
Yeah, I found that I do have one of the edge models, and I do have that cap that I use now. But I still find I get it a little bit dirty.
Yeah. So that's the best thing to clean it is just water, or if you have to use something a little bit stronger than water, I do like a 50-50 alcohol mix to break that up. And it should come off with just a little bit of elbow grease, but that should remove it.
Thank you.
No problem. Anything else I can answer?
Somebody asked if the DinoLite can view microbes.
Well, yes and no. The DinoLite is a light microscope. The theoretical maximum limit for light microscopy is around 1,300 times, 1,600. 13 to 1,600 is the limit for that. So you can see microbes using our highest magnification model, which goes up to around 1,000 times, but it's going to be like a dot. We are getting ready to release a model this year that is going to enable it to go up to 1,300 times, which is nearing the theoretical limit for light microscopy. But to really see microbes, that's approaching where you start to need more advanced solutions like an electron microscope. If that answers the question. But if you do need high mag solutions, just send us an email. We can send you over some sample photos of our high mag solution. We can get you on the list to send you an email when this new high mag scope is available.
Will you be showing it at trade shows later this year once we can go to trade shows again?
The high mag? Oh, yes, we will.
Woohoo!
Yeah, it's going to be really nice. That model, if you do need that high mag solution, it's going to be pretty groundbreaking. For one, there's already no other microscope on the market that can do 1,000 times magnification like ours can. True 1,000 times magnification optically. If you look on Amazon, most of those say something crazy. They'll say like 50 times to 1,000 times, which that's lies. That doesn't work that way. But as far as true optical magnification in a microscope as small as ours, the 1,000 times model was already groundbreaking. There were certain magazines that were just in awe that we were able to do that. And for those of you that have seen those models, they have coaxial lighting built into them, which is another thing that you just do not see in a microscope this small. This new model that's coming out, it's going to be not only higher magnification, but it's going to have higher magnification than we can currently do. So 1,300 times optical magnification, not digital. It's going to have built-in coaxial lighting. And for the first time ever, our high mag scope is going to support EDOF. So it's going to be a really groundbreaking microscope when it's released. And so we're looking forward to showing that off at trade shows.
Someone's asking about doing oil immersions and stuff. I mean, I think, some of these guys, my guess is they want to look at like compost tea for microbial activity and stuff. For that kind of stuff, I think a traditional compound microscope is a bit more of the direction you want to go, that you have a slide, you put it on and everything. Because I mean, I have a compound microscope, I have a dissecting scope, I am the proud owner of 4 DinoLites now. It's not like I can say, oh, this is my favorite. I use the different things for my different tools that I need them for. Because you just have to see what the right tool for the job is. And again, I think the compost tea stuff and looking at microbial activity and compost and soil on that kind of level, I think a microscope is more what you would want and need for that. On that.
Yes, and I'd agree. Now, there are people that have done immersion microscopy with the T8 models, that's the high mag models. But even though people can do it, they normally do it because the DinoLite is the only thing they have available and they can't afford both. I think Susan was right. A traditional microscope is much more suited for that type of work. Now, if you're using a traditional microscope, one thing that is really good is we have really good eyepiece cameras that can go right into the eyepiece of your traditional microscope or into the trinocular port of your microscope to take pictures, and you can still use the same Dino Capture software to take photos, videos, and do measurements. You can do all of that stuff using your traditional compound microscope in the DinoLite software. And those, the most expensive eyepiece camera that we have is $650. So they're very affordable too. We have other ones that are $350. So that is an option for those of you who are still using compound microscopes.
Which again, I do, and don't hate me, Kerie, but I did buy somebody else's camera microscope for my triangular scope. And well, it's because it's a very super high, ridiculous megapixel one. Because again, I'm, a photo whore and I have to have the best stuff. The software is horrendous. I hate it. I hate having to use it. I want you guys to come out with like an 18 megapixel camera, please, for my microscope. And have your software. I'm not going to say what brand it is, but I see that brand of digital microscope at a lot of facilities, and the software is just horrible. And there is zero tech support. And again, that's the thing that I appreciate about your company is I always can get a human being to get when I have a crisis, because I always call when there's a crisis, and I can get a person. And if you just order something like off of Amazon from some other company, you're not going to get the support you can. And that's I've been really happy with about that. But the software can make a big difference on the functionality. And I do think, because I've tried a lot of different softwares for the microscope stuff, and I've been very happy with the DinoLite software on there. But I will say, if you are going to buy any kind of microscope, always buy a triocular scope, even though maybe you're not going to mount a camera at that time, but it gives you that option of having a third hole to put a camera on. Because if you have just a 2-hole microscope and you want to put a camera on, you're going to have to stick it in one of the eyepieces. Then you're down to 1 eye hole, and it's really nice to have the 2 eye holes to look at. So always buy yourself a triocular when you're doing that.
Yeah, definitely agree. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, there's another question. Is there anything else on that you wanted to say? Go ahead.
Oh, just saying, we're constantly trying to increase what we are able to do with our microscopes. And right now, the limiting factor is USB bandwidth. Even USB 3.0 and USB-C, you can't get other microscopes that are above about 8 megapixels is the best that you can push over like a USB-C. And that's very unusual, very uncommon. So it is coming. DinoLite, there hasn't been a year that's gone by that we haven't made some sort of improvement. This year is no different. I'll give you guys a little teaser for those of you who are DinoLite fans. Dino Capture 3.0 is coming very soon, and it is definitely something to get excited about. So maybe when that is available, maybe I can talk to Susan. We'll do a special webinar just for that.
Yes, because you always, every time I talk to you about the DinoLite software, I learn something new because there's so much to it. But okay, somebody did ask, what's the expectancy of a DinoLite?
Life expectancy?
Yeah.
Well, we provide support for life on them. We still have people calling us that are using their original DinoLites from 15 years ago. If things go bad, it's going to be if it's a microscope that's left on for years and years and years at a time, where the person is doing a study, doing time-lapse photos for years, then sometimes the LEDs can burn out. That is highly unlikely. I've only seen it a handful of times in the many years that I've been working here. The thing that will go bad if it's not taken care of is the USB cable. That's just the cable. Let me go ahead and stop this. I'll keep it open for now. So the cable on the end, right here is a stress point, and if you're wrapping up the microscope and putting stress on that, that is the number one thing that goes bad, is just people being rough on this cable. The new microscopes, the Edge Plus, they're coming out with, we're starting to make microscopes that have disconnectable cables that can disconnect, so you can replace those yourself. But if something is going to go bad, that's going to be that. Now you get 2 years warranty. If that goes bad during those 2 years, you send it back to us, and it's no charge replacement. If it's out of the 2-year warranty, we still support them. The most that you'll ever pay for a repair is right around $250, I think, is where it kind of tops out, even if it's an out of warranty repair. So we definitely go above and beyond to try to support them as long as possible. But the quick answer to your question is they can last well over a decade with good use.
And I'll tell you right now, I had to send a Canon lens in for repair. That was $300 just to get a Canon macro lens. Don't drop your DinoLite. We heard that.
Yeah.
Now we'll know if they still work or not. So somebody did have a question. Your 5 megapixel, is that your highest resolution eyepiece camera? And will you be coming out with a higher resolution in the future? I think you just said that the cable is the...
That's the limiting factor. The highest that we can go is 5 megapixel. And that is the highest that you will find anywhere. Now, there might be a couple fringe cases out there to where they're using some experimental tech to get up to 8 megapixels over a USB 3 or a USB-C connection, or even Lightning. I can't remember. There's a couple other things out there that are Thunderbolt is higher frame rate capable, but it's still you're just not able to get a good frame rate if you go over 5 megapixel over a USB connection. If you need a higher resolution capture device, the only thing that's currently available are things that use what's called a frame grabber. A frame grabber is a device that you plug into like an HDMI camera to, and it will digitally capture that really fast. Those things have their own processors built in. They're very expensive. The frame grabber itself can cost more than any of our microscopes. It can cost like $3,000 or $5,000. So yeah, so currently 5 megapixel is the best that we have available. But we are watching the technology as it evolves, and as soon as that becomes available, the technology becomes more readily available to where we can put out a higher megapixel eyepiece camera, we will definitely be doing that. I'm sure, Susan, the camera that you caught, I'm sure that thing was probably around $3,000. I'm guessing, maybe $1,500.
I don't remember exactly, but it was a little painful.
Yeah.
And one of the things I spent a long time looking at is because, I do videos and I do still, and basically you have your choice. You can have a higher frame rate to make videos, and then you can't get the megapixels so much for the stills, or you can get the higher megapixels to have the nicer pictures, but you get really jerky video. And since now I generally use that camera with my triocular microscopes for when I'm photographing slide mounted insects, they're dead, they're splattered, smushed. So I don't need video for that. And so yeah, no, it's an expensive hobby. And that's where, again, the DinoLite has been a really good fix for that.
Yeah, the DinoLite, we're not trying to compete with Leica and Zeiss and those types of people. They do what they do very well. What we're trying to do is fill the void. Before, it was just cheap, dirt cheap microscopes that you can't get a good image off of, and no software, or spend thousands and thousands of dollars. Where DinoLite is, our niche is filling that void that's right in the middle, giving you something that is a lot higher quality than what you get with these bargain bin elementary school microscopes, but still at a price that's affordable for most people. So we're always trying to balance that with our products. So again, we will come when that balance can be struck with a higher megapixel eyepiece camera and price that we can sell it to you for, then we're definitely going to do it. So.
Well, and I like the portability. And the other thing, working in the agricultural industry, I see so many microscopes sitting in growers' offices with no covers, and they get absolutely filthy with grime and dirt. And, you know, to get your microscope serviced, to get it cleaned, it can cost more than a DinoLite when you get crud in there. And, you know, my DinoLite, I always keep them in their little bags with the little grease pocket over, and then they stay clean. It's a lot easier to just keep the equipment clean, except for I guess if you're Emily and you get it all goobery up. But I think for ag, it's a tool that's easier to just keep clean in that situation. And I have been to facilities where they have used some of the other brands of less expensive scopes, but I do find the distortion in them makes it even hard sometimes for some of the ID, because you do get distorted images and shapes. So, hey, you think it's a round egg, but no, is it an oval egg or is it round? And you can't tell because of the distortion on there. So again, I just think it's an affordable solution. And, you know, a lot of times I tell my growers when their boss doesn't want to pay for it. I mean, you guys all know how expensive pesticides are today. And if you can use a DinoLite to say, oh no, the insect's dead, or oh no, it's a beneficial, and not have to treat, it's paid for an application of a pesticide. In the big picture, this isn't that much money in the big picture of things. So, I'm sorry, I'm laughing because someone just sent me a private message and they said their microscopes in their laundry room because they're doing COVID telework and probably getting loaded with lint. And you're probably right. Make sure you keep it covered to keep the lint out of it, because that stuff, it's amazing how it can get inside of these scopes. So that said, if you don't mind, I think I'll go back because I just have a few slides because we are at a, you know, catching. I mean,
absolutely.
We've had Zoom meetings go 2.5 hours, but I know some of the people are already up past their bedtime. But let me go ahead and do a few things, and then we'll finish. We'll have discussion afterwards, and then people can stay as long as they like afterwards. So, okay, then I'm going to take over with screen sharing. All right. Okay, can you see that okay? All right. Collecting. So for collecting your insects to take pictures, and again, this could be a whole thing in itself. Try not to grab branches and snap them off with your hand, because with the shaking of that can knock insects off the plants. I'm sure some of you have seen my scouting videos where I'm going through the greenhouse and just banging the plants. Banging can cause insects and mites to fall off. So try to cut the leaf or branch off. And also, if you know you're not going to take photos for a while, you know, sometimes you can't help it. You're going to click the bugs right then. But like for me, like downstairs, I'm working on building up this aphid population so I can take photos. I'm not going to go collect my leaves, set them on my desk up here, and then set up all my photography equipment. I'm going to wait till I have my equipment all ready to go because you don't want to disturb the insects too much. Especially with aphids, because once you tend to cut a plant and the fluids stop flowing in the plant, the aphids detect that and they tend to leave the plant. So collect them as close as possible to when you are going to take images. Put them in vials or tubs. This on the lower right is just a collection vial. You can buy these by the dozen from BioQuip out of California. I probably have 300 of these vials in a Rubbermaid tub back behind me. They do fit onto an aspirator, which you can use to collect insects, but generally we're not doing that using aspirators too much, but you can just put a leaf in there, put a snap cap on, but you do have to be careful you don't get condensation in there. Condensation is really bad for insect photos because the insects get stuck to the leaves, they can't move, and if you get too much moisture on the leaves, then you get a lot of reflection off the image and it doesn't look so good. So I use the snap caps. I am a huge fan of these Ziploc fresh produce bags, but I honestly think this is the last box on the planet of those. You cannot find them anywhere. the bags have micro perforations in them, so the moisture can escape, which was awesome. You can make your own by taking a stack of Ziploc baggies and sit there with a pin and put 1,000 pinholes in it. But those I really like. So I save those for special occasions, like when I'm in Florida and there's a lot of humidity and moisture and I have to worry about condensation stuff. So, but you again can make bags like that, or you can buy now all those little plastic kind of tubs that are designed to be disposable for food, but they make very small ones that are about the size for baby food, which are another thing you can put samples in. Because if you're going through a greenhouse or out in a nursery and you got to collect a lot of samples, a lot of times if you put them in a bunch of bags, they can get squished really easy. And especially you want to keep them nice if you're going to take pictures. Also, I try to keep them kind of in their environment. You want to make sure they don't heat up. You know, people, you don't want to leave them in your car or anything. You want to keep them in the environment they were in so they're kind of happy until you take the pictures. So staging the insects. I don't take insects and put them on other plants to take their photos. You want them on the plants you found them on, and that's a science thing, because if not, and I all of a sudden see it's a cannabis leaf, and then all of a sudden I see, you know, a oleander aphid on there, I'm gonna be freaking out about why there's an oleander aphid on cannabis. And so keep it on the original host. If they're running around too fast, thrips do this. If spider mites are really feeling active, they'll run around quite a bit. What I'll do is I'll sometimes throw them in my refrigerator, set a timer, because if you forget and you're gone too long, your plant material is going to shrivel up and you're going to freeze your bugs to death. Been there, done that. So always set a timer to remind yourself to go back. You will learn over time how much is too much for certain things, but cooling them down can help. If you really, somebody wants to buy me a really expensive Christmas gift or birthday gift, they actually make these cooling plates. I think they're like, you know, $2,000, but basically it's a cool surface and you can lay the bugs or the plant material on there and it just cools it down to slow the bugs down. Or I can walk downstairs and put them in my fridge. If they are running around like crazy, sometimes we'll just take like a little cap and set it over top if it's something larger, and that kind of calms them down to be able to take the images. But it just takes a lot of patience and it takes a lot of time. I seriously, some of these images you see in my presentations, I'll spend 5 hours to get one image. So you have to be patient about it. But I'm also looking for the holy grail art shot. For you guys as growers, I just need you to get me photos for ID. And, you know, to do that, you know, Kerie talked about having stands. I personally am a handheld person because I find myself chasing bugs around leaves a lot. If you're going to take pictures of like bud and trichomes or dead insects, the stands are great because that will hold them perfectly still. You can do the nice photo stacking. You can do some great images. But for me, you know, I'm often taking pictures of things that are moving, and I need to be able to move the DinoLite around. I know some of the people, when they first get DinoLites, get a little frustrated because we're making it sound so easy. There is a definite learning curve. And remember, I've been using, I can't even tell you how, when I got my first DinoLite, I could probably go back and find my receipts, but it's been, I was a very early adopter of this technology. So it takes time to get good at it. So don't get frustrated and don't get upset, and realize you can take 1,000 pictures and delete 99% of them. It's not like you're using it up. You can just delete the photos that aren't working well for you. And if you are wondering what is on the right, that is an aphid, and that is an Aphidius larva inside of it. That's getting ready to go through its metamorphosis to turn into a little parasitic wasp. So it's a little baby parasitic wasp in there. Aw. So with insects, what do I need to see? And you know, you guys know I'm obsessed with aphids. Again, you don't have to get that beautiful money shot, but you know, get the head in focused, get the butt in focused, get me some leg photos. And if you send me, or again, any of us bug nerds, even, you know, Elizabeth or Betsy Lamb, who's on here too, she's with Cornell Extension. She's an excellent greenhouse extension person. Again, you don't have to necessarily get the whole thing. If you can get the different pieces of the anatomy in focus and send them to us, I can build the aphid in my head and see the anatomical parts I need. And especially with aphids, again, I can't say it enough. We need to see the space between the antenna up here. We need to see the cornicles down here, the legs. On thrips, we really need to see the top of the head, and we need to see behind the head, and then also the hairs on the body. So just get as many pictures. Again, don't worry about making them pretty, just get us different parts in focus on there. And this I wanted to show you. So this is when I did have the stand, because this took hours for these bugs to hatch. But that's kind of my setup here on part of, I'm literally sitting in the chair where this is right now. And you can see I have this attached to this computer, and believe it or not, I have my computer tethered to a flat screen TV too, so I can see them super big. But as simple as this, and you can see that photo I used to prove, you know, I took that image with the DinoLite, and I had to sit here where those guys were slowly emerging, and I didn't want to hold it. So this is where you would want to stand for doing something like that. So with that, I appreciate you guys all coming out. You know, I try to balance the time for, you know, East and West Coast so that everybody can join in. And hopefully, you know, for those of you that have DinoLites, because I know some of you do, this will help you, especially the section on using the software. If you don't have a DinoLite, you know, again, you contact them. They've always been super helpful about the stuff. And then hopefully this will allow people to start sending me better pictures. And people always say, well, we know, you know, you get so mad when people send you bad pictures. It's not that I get mad. It just, it makes my life easier if I get nicer photos. And I think this is a tool to help you get there. So with that, does anybody have any other question? Suzanne, do you have a key of what parts of each bug we need to take for identification? No, but it's coming. I'm getting there on this stuff because I'm trying to make some easier diagnostic stuff for growers. So yeah, I'm working on that. And I know somebody wrote a really long message. Oh, thank you, Matt, for wishing me happy birthday. Again, going to be celebrating it all year. So when I do come to Michigan, which I will be later this year, I will let you buy my birthday soda for me. And who's this person up here? Hi, Kerie and Suzanne. Currently, I'm doing my experiment in a Faraday cage, which is so sensitive to any other electrical noise. You know what? This is going to be like, I would contact Kerie directly about this because this is a very unique situation talking about that. And I think that, sorry, I meant Ben. I can't see all of who it was. Oh, is it Ben Wu? Yeah, I would talk to them directly. I know, Kerie, did you see that in the chat message over there?
Yeah, I just looked at it right now. Sorry.
Sorry, you do that to me every time. Yeah, because I think that's a pretty
too good.
Yeah, it's a pretty in-depth question. It's a unique situation. So I think that might be a more in-depth technical thing for you guys to discuss.
Yeah, definitely. For questions like that, or just any questions you have, you can email us at sales@dynolite.us. A quick answer to that, Ben, would be it shouldn't have an issue being in a Faraday cage, just as long as you're using a USB model. That's the short answer. We can discuss that more if you want to send us in an email.
So does anybody have any other question? Did I miss anything? Thanks. Your name says Elizabeth up there, but it's Betsy Lamb. I'm glad she made it. She was concerned about staying. She made it the whole time. So thanks. Oh, and thanks, Michelle, for coming. So does anybody have any other? Suzanne, is the ATM4 sufficient to take pictures of insects? Oh, thank you, Jay, for the happy birthday. For insects, yes. Sometimes, you know, if I really need to zoom in for mites, but it also depends on what crop it is, because if you're, let's just say you're a cannabis grower, I'm going to be able to see enough of your pictures to know which mite it is, whether it's hemp russet broad mite or two-spot spider mite. You know, sometimes with my outdoor ornamental growers where we get weirdo mites and we have to do a lot more work at ID, we might need more magnification. But I do think for cannabis, for what you need to do to get pictures to me, that should be enough to get the images with. Oh yeah, DinoLites can see nematodes for sure. Well, endomopathogenic nematodes. Remember, there's lots of different sizes of nematodes, but absolutely, I have a bunch of nematode videos that I've shot with my DinoLite.
Yeah, we have some too on the website. That's really tiny nematodes, just a few microns. With you'll obviously need the higher mag model for those, but absolutely.
Yeah, the main thing with the nematodes for these guys is they're not going to be doing nematode identification. It's a lot of checking to see if they're viable or not. So yeah, because to identify nematodes, you're going back into microscope and slide mounting and all that again. But for them to be alive, yeah, that should work. So anybody else have any other questions?
There's a link with some pictures of some model organisms like nematodes if anyone wanted to check it out.
Oh, thank you. That is helpful. So, all right. Well, that said, I want to thank all of you for coming, and I want to thank Kerie so much for doing this. And I'm sorry I haven't been able to see Kerie you at in Las Vegas. You know, I missed going to Vegas this year and hanging out at the MJ Biz show, but hopefully this year we'll, you know, see what happens. And again, feel free to, for technical questions on DinoLite, because I can already feel people are going to email me asking me about model numbers. Contact DinoLite. That's because that's where I'm just going to send you. Kerie made a nice cheat sheet for me that I do have, but when it comes to ID, that's my department. So don't email Kerie to identify your aphids. So, but that said, if you have any other questions, let us know. And if not, I'm going to come to a close here.
Yep. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for having me. And again, please call us. We're never going to be it's never going to be a pushy sales call. We don't work on commission. We just want to help you out. So give us a call, shoot us an email. We're happy to help.
Well, thank you very much.